Live, raw, uncut, and uncensored. It's just for clicks. Featuring your host, Michael Buckeister.
And welcome to Just for Clicks, guys. This is Michael Buckeister. This is live, raw, and uncut sports talk here on this Wednesday evening edition, 10 p.m. East Coast time. I got to welcome my special guest into the show. We have my man, Matthew Lyle. Matthew, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. Where did you get the movie producer guy? Hey, where is the guy that? Where did you get him?
If you guys want some great editing stuff, there, my man Ricky, he does all this very, very cheap. I think all this cost me about $40. I think it was like after it was all said and done. Very, very good quality though. I couldn't be much more happy.
He came in like the movie guy in a world where Michael Buckeister talks sports. Like it threw me off. I wasn't really anticipating it. So I mean, props to him. I thought it was cool.
Like, we are live, raw, and uncut, man. So you got to bring the noise, son.
You know, I felt though he kind of left a little hanging when he came to your name. Like he was doing all right for a little bit, and then he got to your name. And I felt like he dropped the ball a little bit. But I ain't gonna hate on the dude. Like I said, it was legit. It was
man, Michael Buckeister is a tough name to say every now and then. But guys, the phone lines are open for today's show, 502-771-0364. If you feel like chatting with us a little bit of sports, a little bit of current events, whatever you want to chit chat about, me and Matthew are here for you. But Matthew, news has come out to the masses here, and I say in the last couple hours is like when I really started to find this stuff out. I mean, we all kind of expected it and whatnot, but Eli Manning is going to announce his retirement on Friday, allegedly. I mean, I'd assume that he will be. He's 38 years old, lost his starting job to a rookie quarterback this season. So obviously the Giants are ready to move in a different direction. So my first question to you, I'm not going to read off any of the stats that I have right now in front of me, but is, in your opinion, Eli Manning Hall of Fame worthy?
I'm not going to lie. Yeah, I mean, he's Hall of Fame worthy on the basis alone that most of you scrubs out there are Tom Brady haters, and that man himself kept Tom Brady from having like 8 rings.
Okay.
So, like, he should be alone for that.
So your sole fighting of him being a Hall of Famer is 2 Super Bowl rings over Tom Brady.
2 Super Bowl rings over Tom Brady. Absolutely. That should get you in right there. And Bill Belichick get you in right there. I mean, okay. if we get Big Dick Nick Foles because he beat Belichick in 1, what are we going to call a man that beat him in 2? So yeah, put the man in the Hall of Fame. Why not? I mean, Matthew, he's going to get in there too because of the last name. I mean.
Yeah, that's exactly the point that I was going to make before you brought that up. I think the only way he would get into the Hall of Fame is because of the family genes that he has. Peyton Manning, I would say he's a sure Hall of Famer. Like, are your thoughts on that as well? Peyton Manning, a Hall of Famer?
Oh yeah, I mean absolutely. Yeah. That's a start question.
Yeah, and then you have his dad Archie, like as well. So the family genes go deep here. But let me tell you this, Matt.
I mean, is Archie in the Hall of Fame?
That I don't know. I did not look that one up because the stats that I was looking for here were the Hall of Fame quarterbacks that have 2 Super Bowl rings and 2 undefeated rings here, or 2 undefeated Super Bowl wins, like I should say here. But before I get into the stats of like those guys, let me read the stats for you of Eli Manning's career. He has 57,000 passing yards, 366 touchdown passes, 4-time Pro Bowler, and 2-time Super Bowl champion. The stats that I don't have on there right now, that I don't have right in front of me, though, is his winning percentage. He is a 500 winning quarterback. I believe he's like 174 and 174 or something like that. Like, he is not very good, or he's the 500 winning percentage. He also has a 1 touchdown to 1 interception ratio. So if you just saw those stats alone, he is not a Hall of Fame quarterback whatsoever if you do not add the Super Bowls on there. So you're saying based off of those stats and the 2 Super Bowl wins that he has, he is a Hall of Famer still?
Well, I mean, I'm not looking at the numbers here in front of me, but isn't he like top 10 all-time passing? Like,
I don't have that, but I'm really looking at the win percentage, the 500.
I mean, win percentage. I mean,
and the
win percent don't care. I mean, that you can't do that. I mean, I don't really care about that. I was playing around a little bit. I mean, 2 Super Bowls are impressive, but I mean, if you're talking about him getting in the Hall of Fame, I mean, yeah, I mean, you look at those numbers. So
we're saying this is the Hall of Average.
I mean, is top 10 all-time passing yards average?
His winning percentage is average, and his touchdown to interception ratio is average.
No, it's touch. I mean, he's still putting up some of the best numbers in the league. I mean, if that's the play you want to take, then you put Trent Dilfer in the Hall of Fame.
This is the track that you're going with. I don't think Eli Manning is a Hall of Famer because of all the stats that I just rattled off.
But why? I mean, but you're looking at team-wide stats. Like I said, I don't care about the Super Bowls. I was just being silly there about the Tom Brady because he did take 2. If we're to be completely serious about it, I mean, because Hall of Fame is one of the few things that is a individual award. I mean, because if you go look in college, they give the Heisman out to, it's kind of a weird criteria. It's best player on best team on best situation. MVP often, you don't really see them give MVP to bad teams. You just kind of don't, But Hall of Fame kind of goes to one of those awards that is strictly individual. And yeah, I mean, as far as individual stats go, he's in there. He's up there with Phillip Rivers as well. I mean, I don't know what Phillip Rivers' win percentage is. He clearly has no Super Bowls, but he's all-time top 10 passing yards, and that has to be respected for now. I will say this: I do think Eli, Rivers, Ben, which Ben does got some rings too. This might be that last generation that you can sit back and say, okay, I'm loving those passing yards.
Yeah.
Then you're going to start getting guys like Jameis Winston in there. You're going to start getting guys, whatever the next Matt Stafford. That's going to be when you start getting into debates. Then you start, guys that are probably juniors in college right now. Joe Burrow may throw for, 100,000 yards and his career will be left to be seen. But I feel like,
5,000 yards is definitely starting to become the norm.
Yeah. For me personally, when I look, that last class, anything prior to like 06, 07 draft class, I feel like that's about as last as you can say, I'm going to let you get in on strictly numbers. Matt Stafford may be able to wiggle himself in there. I'd have to look deeper. I don't know exactly how he looks. And I mean, you want to talk average, you want to talk about low average. Detroit's really done him in. So I'm going to say yes. Like I said, and we're talking I'm not even looking at the stats, but I have a strong feeling he's in top 10. I have to give it to him for now. It's almost like, how you see some of those receivers that's in the Hall of Fame and they have, the most touchdowns they'll have in a season will be like 7, but they played in 1940.
Right.
I feel like you take that in the era, and I feel like Eli Manning squeaks in on that.
Well, let me go ahead and just rattle off some stats for you here as far as Hall of Fame quarterbacks go. There are 10 quarterbacks that have at least 2 Super Bowl wins. Let me read these off for you. Like you have John Elway. He is 2-3 in the Super Bowl. Bob Greasy, 2-1. Big Ben, 2-1. He is not in the Hall of Fame, but I think he is eventually going to be there just because of the legacy that he left in Pittsburgh alone. Bart Starr, 2-0 in the Super Bowl. He is in the Hall of Fame. Jim Puckett, 2-0, not in the Hall of Fame. Terry Bradshaw, he is 4-0. He is in the Hall of Fame. Joe Montana, he's 4-0. He's in the Hall of Fame as well. And, of course, you got Troy Aikman from the Dallas Cowboys, 3-0. He is in the Hall of Fame. So when I look at these stats here, Jim Puckett really stands out to me because he is 2-0 in the Super Bowl, but he's not in the Hall of Fame. And then I start to dig deeper. I started to look at his stats. His winning percentage, 500. What is Eli Manning's? 500. His touchdown to interception ratio, it is 1-1. So for every touchdown that he threw, 164, 1 out of 5 or 1.5 out of 2 times he threw an interception. He had 164 touchdowns, 198 interceptions. Eli Manning is a 1-to-1 ratio there. So judging off of those stats, if Eli does not get in the first year, I think the stats are going to come back and haunt him. His name can only carry him for so long because, let's face it, Peyton Manning's been retired for, 5 years now? 6 years? So the Manning legacy is really starting to wear off. So he has to get in the first year, or he's not going to get in at
I think it's the exact opposite. I don't think he's going to get in the first year because, if I'm not mistaken, the NFL caps how many players per position can get in. So who else is going to retire? Assuming he retires this year, who else is he going to be going up against?
Is there a cap for how many positions can get in?
I thought there was only 3 quarterbacks.
Okay.
I
didn't know that.
I mean, I could be wrong, and I don't really care if I am, but, it sounds good, right?
Right.
But I think the more we see, I don't know. I think he's going to get in. I think I look at those stats. I look at those individual. I don't look at win percentage, touchdown to interception ratio. The 2 Super Bowls. A lot of times those are like, cherries on top, because they're going to look at his stats and they say, okay, you're top 10 passing yards all time, and you got 2 Super Bowls. The other guys you mentioned that aren't in the Super Bowl are either still playing, i.e. Ben Roethlisberger, you got to be, I think, 5 years before you even qualify.
Right.
Or they have the Super Bowl rings, but they don't quite have the numbers. I'd be very curious to see how Troy Aikman's numbers stack up against Eli's, considering those teams were some of the all-time greats in the Dallas. How do those numbers line up?
Yeah, we got our first call coming in for the day here. See if we can get this transferred over here.
People actually call that line?
100%, man.
People were actually calling.
Hello, hey, this is just for clicks. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing fine. All
right, so you want to talk about a little bit of Eli here?
Yeah. I see you got my friend Matt on. Thought I'd,
do I know this voice?
Is this him talk sports a lot?
Okay, so let me ask you this: what are your thoughts? Does Eli Manning get into the Hall of Fame?
Yes.
Based off of what? Based off of the 2 Super Bowl wins that Matthew is based off of here?
I was going to say, well, yeah. So, to be fair, for Eli's career, if you look at it, during his time that he played, he was a top 10 quarterback. For most of his prime, he was a top 10 quarterback, and then
top 10 quarterback in passing yards or rating. Because touchdown to interception ratio, he was
no. Touchdown interception ratio is terrible.
Exactly.
No, that is fine. That's a knock. Now he's a Hall of Famer. Now, if you want to sit here and say first ballot, that's different. I don't think he gets in on first ballot. I definitely think he gets in though. You got to include. You got to see where his good ranks are. I mean, if you look at it, Brett Favre was tops in the league. Is he still tops in interceptions overall?
I believe Eli surpassed him this season on that, actually. So I'm not mistaken. I don't have the stats in front of me on that one.
Because as far as Hall of Fame quarterbacks, yes, he gets in. He's what? I'm pretty sure he's top 10 yards.
He is 7th in yards.
Top 10 touchdowns, 2 Super Bowls, and in each of those Super Bowls, isn't he the MVP?
He is the MVP, but do you think he really deserved that MVP on either of those Super Bowls?
Yeah. The very first one, easily. That play to David Tyree, easily. Like that play alone, him being able to scramble that defense and then throw the ball. Do I agree that David Tyree made a better catch? Yes, but that play, when you think of that Super Bowl, it doesn't happen unless Eli gets out of the pocket and gets away from that defender who should have grabbed him.
Do we think of that play as a David Tyree catch or the Eli Manning throw?
For me, I think of Eli Manning because without that play, David Tyree doesn't even get the. No, I'm an Eagles fan. I hate Eli, but I think he gets.
If you watch on Facebook Live, there you go.
Oh yeah, I'm watching on Facebook Live.
Cowboys hat there for you.
Yeah, I just think that. I think he gets a lot of slack. Let's be fair. I think Eli would be compared to his era's Joe Namath. I think that's fair as far as stats wise, because in his era, Joe Namath his stats were terrible compared to who he played against.
Yeah, I definitely hear everything that you're saying. Would definitely appreciate the call. Feel free to call in tomorrow as well. So,
of course,
so I think we're all three kind of on assumption that Eli Manning will make it into the Hall of Fame. You were with Matthew on this one, saying he won't get in first ballot Hall of Fame, but I think he has to get in first ballot Hall of Fame.
If he does get first ballot, it's because of his name. Yeah. Not because of his accomplishments. It's his name. And I do think they will boost the fact that he did beat Tom Brady twice.
Right.
The first quarterback to beat him twice. You beat him on the biggest stage. And you could sit here and say it's luck. The first, you do it once, that's fine. The catch, the play, all of that. But when you come back and do it again years later, the same type of way, to me, that's not luck. That's skill.
Yeah, I mean, the reason why I think it has to be first ballot Hall of Fame is because of what Matthew alluded to earlier. It is that we're going to see such a boost in quarterback numbers over these next 10 to 15 to 20 years that 5,000 yards is going to start to become the norm. 6,000 and 7,000 yard seasons are not out of reach, I think, in the next couple years, because just like what you alluded to, Matthew, was we had Jameis. He threw for 5,000 yards, 30 touchdowns, but also threw for 30 interceptions. So if we want to go that route, is he a Hall of Famer too? So
yes, most catch ball ever. Like James Winston.
To be fair, hold on. But to be fair, right now nobody considers Jameis Winston a top 10 quarterback playing. When in prime, nobody in Eli's prime, he was considered a top 10 during his time. In his prime,
you're right.
Nobody's even putting Jameis Winston in top 15, not even top 20 right now.
Yeah,
it would be really hard. It would be really hard to put him in because he's shown no growth.
Well, only time will tell. He has what's his name, Arians, as his coach now. So I think next year is his make and break season for Jameis there. But thank you for the call, Matthew. Any last thoughts before we let this caller go?
I think you also have to look at.
I can't even hear Matt.
Yeah, I don't think he can hear me. I'm not sure what's going on there, but maybe you can relay this, Mike. I think one thing you have to look to is where we're at in an era of quarterbacks. I look around at the quarterbacks that are top notch. Yes, Ben Roethlisberger may retire soon. Tom Brady may retire soon, and then Drew Brees. Then you start looking at who else is going to retire that can push him.
Right.
And so maybe if Phillip retires this year and Ben retires this year, those three might get – two of those three is probably going to get it on the first ballot. And then after Brady and Brees, most of the cannons out there are young. So there's going to be probably a couple years, even if Manning's not a first ballot, there's probably going to be a couple years where there's no elite quarterback. Because you look at who's in front of him, it's Hall of Fame names when we get to passing yards. I looked it up when David was talking there. We got Phillip Rivers, Dan Marino, Brett Favre, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Drew Brees. Those are Hall of Fame numbers. Everybody there's a Hall of Famer. And then behind him is Ben Roethlisberger and John Elway.
So anybody that is retire as a top tier quarterback is going to the average Hall of Fame. So right,
if you're a top 10 passer, absolutely.
Yeah. So
if
guys,
you think that's average, considering how many quarterbacks have been in the league, considering how many there's 30 teams,
right? 32.
How many quarterbacks? 32 teams. Looking at how many quarterbacks have been in the league, and you tell me that the number 7 all-time passer is average?
Well, only time will tell. Like, I guess in about 6 years, we'll have this conversation again, and we'll see. I'm not saying he's not getting into the Hall of Fame because I think he will ultimately end up in the Hall of Fame. So, guys, we're going to take a quick break. I'm going to show you a short clip here if you're watching on the Facebook Live feed. As soon as we get back, we'll discuss this clip. Hang on, hang tight.
Scottsdale. Believe it. Teagan gets the block. And that'll do it, this version. And a block to finish. And DeSouza blocks it, and now the bench is empty. Just unnecessary.
Yeah. That's not good. This is bad.
This is bad.
This is
no good. Oh, this is terrible.
There are going to be ramifications for this going forward.
And it's just...
And, guys, that is kind of how it ended there. That was the K-State versus KU brawl that happened last night. I believe it was on ESPN2. I was flipping back and forth between the Kentucky game and the Kansas State game because I am an avid Cats fan, both Kentucky and K-State. K-State is my number one team to if there's any people grouchy out there about that, but I really don't care. So suspensions have been handed out. First off, the guy who blocked the shot at the end, Diesel is his name. It first came out saying he got an indefinite suspension. It has now been reduced to 12 games. Then David McCormick had 2 games as well. And then the K-State players, James Love has 8 games and Antonio Gordon has 3 games. So, Matthew, before I let you jump in on this, I watched this live, and the first thing that come to mind was there's a different type of basketball being played in colleges that are not one of the schools, like your Kentucky Wildcats. The reason why I'm saying that is because these players see each other 2 times a year for the next 3 to 4 years. There is going to be true hate among these players moving forward. You know, K-State or KU has the Kansas State Wildcats number. Like, I believe K-State's only beaten them twice in the last 20 years or something like that. It's something ridiculous. But then you get to the coaching mindset that I have here is like you always encourage your kids to play to the last second of the game. I've listened to people say that K-State should have just let them dribble out the ball. They shouldn't have blocked the layup on the first shot, yada, yada, yada. Well, you are teaching your kids to play with heart. You are teaching your kids to play till the end of the whistle. I don't fault anybody but the DeSoto guy for doing like the block is fine. I don't care about the block. The fact that you walked 6 feet over to the guy and like flex on him, that's where I got my issue. Now, I'm going to really go deep on this later after I get your thoughts on this. Like, what are your thoughts on that whole fight?
I mean, most interesting thing I've seen all season. I mean, I don't mind it. I don't care at all. Actually, the only thing I really care about is if you go back and truly watch that, how many true punches landed? Like, they were just flaring and shoving. It's the same thing that always happens in basketball. They get in each other's face, and they hope somebody holds them back. In this situation, nobody actually held anybody back. They just kind of pushed each other around. The chair that the dude picked up, was that even a chair? That looked like one of those cheap stools.
So let me give you some insights on that real quick here. So I am from Kansas, and like I've been to Fall Gallon a couple times here. That was the disabled people section. So people that are like in chairs, and they have some type of disorder, something to make them handicapped. So that made that brawl, that fight, that much worse because it happened in that section. If it happened on anywhere else on the court, I think it would have been okay.
I think this is one of those things. This is one of those things where us as people who we try to defend for them. I bet you that was the greatest thing that experienced at that game. That's what happened. You want things like that when you sit courtside. You want there to be things. You look at NBA games,
but not when you're handicapped.
Who are you to speak for the people, right? Who knows? That's the joy of sitting on the sideline is being a part of it. Look, this is nothing. This is so nothing that this indefinite suspension that magically became definite.
Well,
it happened. It's 12 games, right? He comes back last game of the season, so he's magically back by March Madness. This is all just one big charade none of this was nothing. The steal was nothing. The block was nothing. The flex was nothing. The fight was less than nothing. The chair was nothing. I mean, the only person, and there's a picture I posted on social media that I actually took from somebody else's social media, was like there was this old man and this woman that was on the ground, and they both looked like they were trying to go after the guy with the chair. Those are probably the only 2 people that didn't enjoy it. You look at everyone else around. You look at the student section up above. Oh, paints a beautiful picture. There's people laughing. There's people. There's one guy randomly just flipping people off like that was going to do anything. Look, this is This is nothing. This is you're gonna hear all these old heads, these Dick Vitale started and all these guys. Oh, this is horrible. This is a horrible look. No true punches were thrown. You want a horrible look? Go back to what 03, Malice in the Palace. That's a thing of beauty. Right. This amateur. This is why these kids don't get paid. That's an amateur game. That's an amateur fight. I have no problem with any of it. I mean, look, and I'm a firm believer. Do what you want, and especially do what you want if you're at a power program, because they set this kid for 12 games. He gets to relax. Now I don't know if he's a senior. If it's a senior, that kind of sucks a little bit. But he gets to relax for the next 12 games, and guess when he comes back? March Madness, baby.
Does it really suck for him though? Because he was in the game with mop up time. They're up 20 points. So right. Clearly he doesn't play that much anyways. So
fine. I don't know much about Kansas this year. I said this on another show. Yeah. The only Kansas game I watched was the first one versus Duke, and really they have a bunch of unnameable players. Other than, if I'm not mistaken, isn't the DeSoto kid the guy that's had trouble being eligible?
Didn't he
fight a suspension for 2 seasons for eligibility? So I mean, I have no problem with it.
So here's the problem that I have. First of all, Chelsea Sowers was at the game. She's a huge KAU fan. She got engaged. Congratulations
to her.
Name
drop.
Very, very happy for her. Good friend of mine, softball buddy back in Kansas. Moving forward here. So this is what I have about people criticizing the fight or the passion of the players, yada, yada, yada. This is the coach coming in me right here. We coach the kids to be winners. We coach kids not to give up when they're losing. We coach the kids to play till the last whistle, yada, yada, yada. We coach the kids to fight, yada, and all that stuff. So when they give up, they're called pussies. They're called this, they're called that. But when they fight till the very end and they actually fight, then they're called thugs. So do you want them to be pussies or do you want them to be thugs? What do you want them to be? Let's be totally honest here. Most basketball players from big conferences, from big name schools, come from inner cities. They're quote thugs. You cannot take the thug out of the person. I've been called a thug. I get it. I don't really care. I fight for what I believe in. I will MF you up and down the court, and I don't care, because that's how I was raised. With that being said, the only one that really landed the punch was Azubuike. That 7-foot guy that has legs popping out of his shoulders for Kansas. He's the only one that really landed a punch, but yet the finger was wagged at him, because you saw Self basically shoving him back, hey, I know you threw a punch, but
isn't he their best player?
Yeah,
he can't have really that.
Right. So, the real thing, the topic that I really want to get into is Bill Self losing control of his Kansas Jayhawks, because we've got the FBI wiretaps, like the tapes and paying the players, and then all the sexual assaults that are happening off of the court, and now the fights happening on the court. Is this the beginning of the end of Bill Self? I have to say yes. If he is in a Kansas Jayhawks sideline next season, I will be very, very surprised. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, you asked 2 separate questions there. You said, is Bill Self losing control of this team, and is Bill Self on the way out? I say no to the first one. I'm more inclined to say yes to the second one, because I think in Kansas, in college basketball, NCAA, it's become a heartless society. It's just a heartless venue. You just say, win me titles, we'll put asterisks, whatever, next to it. You see it down in LSU. Will Wade gets in all sorts of trouble, and they say, prove it. It's happening in Arizona with Sean Miller. Prove it. It's a very, you really saw it, to digress a little bit, you really saw it with Louisville and North Carolina got in trouble at the same time. Louisville played ball. Louisville was nice. Louisville said, hey, we messed up. We're sorry. And they got hit with infractions. They lost a banner. They might even get worse penalties. Then you turn around, North Carolina has fake classes. North Carolina says, I don't know what you're talking about. Prove it right. Or get out of my face. And they said, and the NCAA bowed down to them. So now you see everybody do it. Memphis did it with the James Wiseman kid. The NCAA said, hey, he's eligible. Memphis said, psych, he's playing tonight. What I see right now is the man's about to retire, perhaps. I think there's more than a 50% chance he's here next year. That's neither here nor there, though. deciding maybe if the NCAA grows a pair over the offseason. But if he decides he's done, basically what I see he's doing, because you got to remember, he's still the number 3 team in the country. This is probably one of Bill Self's better teams. I think he came in, he got in all this trouble over the offseason. He sat down with the big money boosters there in Lawrence and said, hey, this is it, guys. We got us a squad. I'm about done. This is a heck of a team. Let's do whatever it takes. So they laugh at the NCAA. They bring in Snoop Dogg. They bring in strippers. They bring in Money Machine. They bring in all the shenanigans. And this almost reminds me of in a different way, the way that the old school Miami Hurricanes used to be, that we're going to kick your ass on the court and then laugh in your face after. And if you want your ass kicked after the game, we'll hand that out too. I'm actually here for it. As a Kentucky fan, I don't like Kansas. They've kind of been one of the historical programs with Kentucky, Kansas, North Carolina, but I'm kind of here for it. And I'm kind of, if I can watch something else, I got Kentucky over here doing their thing. If I can sit back and watch Kansas do whatever they're doing, this is what I want. And we talked on another show, Mike, about like this kind of seems like the year that if your favorite team was going to lose in the first round, you'd be okay because anybody seems to be able to beat anybody else. If you got the craziness we've seen this college basketball season, plus Bill Self just walking around with a huge you-know-what and a middle finger to the NCAA, hey, this might go down as the greatest. Because there's a lot of people say that the NCAA is going to come to an end, especially whether the G League decides to start paying more or whether they allow players to get paid. Right. If this has the NCAA goes out, this will be a great thing to experience and a great thing to see a 30 for 34 in a couple of years. But yeah, I'm here for Bill Self doing whatever. I actually want to take after the show. I want to sit down and write like 5 things I want to see Bill Self and this Kansas team do next.
Well,
I don't know what they could be. I think about it.
Let's go ahead and hold on to that thought, and we'll carry this conversation to after the break here. We have to pay a little bills here. If you're listening to us on podcast form on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, you'll get some ads. If you're listening to us on the live version here, you get some music. So enjoy. We'll be back in a couple seconds, guys. And welcome back to Just for Clicks, guys. This is Michael Buckeister. This is live, raw, and uncut sports talk with the host tonight, co-host, guest host, whatever you're calling it, Matthew Lyle, straight from the Matthew Lyle Show and Bleeding Blue. Give some plugs there for my man. Find him out on.
What are you eating in that picture? There was a random picture that posted. Are you eating like a piece of bologna?
That's a piece of raw fish because this is live, raw, and uncut.
Worst thing ever you've ever said. I would cancel you on the air just for that one. Like if you're watching this, exit out just because of that.
So, guys, if you guys were listening to us pre-break here, we were talking about the Kansas fight or the KU K-State fight, and we got to talking about Bill Self if he was on his way out, yada yada yada, and like Matthew brought up some good points that I wanted to touch on his last half hour, commercial free. This last hour. Phone lines are open 502-771-0364. And to the person that keeps spam calling, stop it because I'm not answering because you spammed me last night. Man, sorry.
Is someone spam calling? Can we answer? Are they there?
Yeah, well, they're like, making sexual noises and stuff.
Hey, but I'm actually here for that.
That's
what the sponsors want to hear.
This is what
this is late night uncut. I'm here for all this.
So back on course here, Matthew, since you like to take me to the trash can every now and then, you brought up a good point here where you had schools like North Carolina and Memphis that were saying, prove it to the NCAA. And you had schools like Louisville that said, yes, we did wrong, slap us on the wrist, yada, yada, yada. The reason I think the reason why you do not see the NCAA go after these schools after they probe them and they say, there's some misleading actions here, and they have to prove it. They don't want to prove it because there's such big-name programs like Kansas, North Carolina, Memphis. Like Louisville is a big name, but we can do without them in March. Let's be totally honest. Like I remember, was it last year when the FBI tapes came out, and an FBI agent said, if we were to suspend every team that we have information on, the NCAA tournament would be down to like what 6 teams or something like just like that. So I think the NCAA doesn't want to punish the big name schools because in the end it hurts their brand because of what you just brought up. The G League is starting to come up. The overseas is starting to become more popular with Lamar Bell or who's the ball that went overseas.
LaMelo. We got LaMelo Ball, and then you got RJ Hampton. He's over there as well.
So they're all playing overseas, and they're doing good, and they're going to be top 5 picks in the NBA draft. So do you think the NBA or the NCAA kind of cowers down to these colleges?
Oh, the NCAA is
because of the brand.
The NCAA is spineless, despicable, scumbaggy as they come. Absolutely. We can talk about the NCAA and their shenanigans for the next 3 hours. Absolutely. The NCAA wants nothing more than – actually, I think the NCAA was sitting perfect when Louisville got in trouble with the stripper scandal because they could come down like a ton of bricks on a decent-sized school. You kind of alluded to it. They're not exactly a blue blood, but they're not exactly an old-school powerhouse, but they've got that name does have a little weight to it. So it would make some news if they handed out like a big death penalty. But then other schools kind of wrecked the plan. Kansas got in trouble. Arizona got in trouble. Talking about Nike schools getting in trouble. FBI probes. So now the NCAA is like, yes, the NCAA just wants to run from this. This is why I'm surprised that the NCAA isn't like going into more of players getting paid, not because of their own sacredness, but because they want to get away from this. Absolutely. They're afraid I don't think they're afraid. I mean, I guess if you had to, they would. But yes, they're cowards when it comes to doing it because all they care about is themselves.
Yeah.
So that's why I love it when you see these schools say we don't care what you say. I wish Louisville. I hate Louisville with a passion, but I like when they had the some kind of banner night when they played Michigan, the team that they technically beat for the national championship, asterisk next to it. I wish Louisville would do something like wear jerseys with asterisks next to it. I wish, Bill Self would come in with, a T-shirt that kind of referenced, the NCAA. I'm here for anything that they can do to go against the NCAA because I think they're just the worst. They are the worst.
Yeah, I mean, this is modern day slavery, to be honest. I mean, the NCAA makes over $1 billion a year. They make that much money. That's after paying, all their people, yada, yada, yada. They're making $1 billion a year. And how much are these student athletes getting out of that? Any ideas?
Well, I'm not going to. Right. They're getting very little. And I don't want to go into all that. That conversation is probably a little real for something I want to dive into. But, yeah, I mean, I just think that the fact I don't even care. You'll be honest with me, I don't even care about the NCAA's actions because it's what they say. It's the fact that you sit here and you're sitting on your millions of dollars and you're sitting here on your $1 billion TVS, Turner Television, whatever contracts. And then you say, oh, we're about students first. They put out these goofy little ridiculous commercials and they tell you how, players love it so much just being here part of the university. Or they tell you that, every player, schools actually liked being regulated. And then they turn – it's not – you know what? If they were just honest, if they would just be like, hey, we like being rich. You're all willing to do it for free. We're going to do this. I'd be like, hate it, but I got respect for it. It's the fact that they're spineless with what they say. They imply that everybody loves this college life, which don't get me wrong, college is fun. But you know what else is fun? Making millions of dollars.
Right. Well,
and the fact that you're not willing to admit that and you're just trying to say while you're making millions. Because actually, if you're going to sit here and try to tell me that college basketball is amateur and we need to keep it amateur and we need to keep it just for fun, that's why we don't need no nasty betting going on, that's why we don't need them to make any money, then have amateur coaches. Take it off TV. Make it like stuff you see at the – because you know what, YMCA, that's amateur basketball. Go down to your local rec center. That's amateur basketball with an amateur ref, amateur coaches if there is one. That's what amateur is. And I sure as hell don't want to watch that. But if you're going to sit there in NCAA and tell me that's what it is, then then double down. Then go all in. But it's the hypocrisy that I have the problem with.
Yeah, I mean, it is – let's put this in layman terms for us here. It is me and Matthew here. Say we're both walking down the street at the same time. We both turn left, and then I get stopped and say, hey, you can't go left, but you can. That's exactly what the NCAA did to Louisville and North Carolina. And ultimately, it's because Matthew is better looking than like I am. So like it is what it is. So let's go ahead and move on to the final topic of the day. Antonio Brown is officially a wanted man, not by NFL teams, but by the Hollywood, Florida Police Department.
How long did you have to work on that, Mike? I feel like you worked on that longer than you should.
It just comes to me, man. I'm just that this is why this is live on Uncut. But
I feel like you stayed up a while on that one. Like the moment you got the message that he was, I feel like there was like a notepad with like 5 or 6 different things scrapped out of plans that didn't work. But I'll let you continue.
Yeah, actually, it is. That's not in my notes if you guys want to see my notes here. But we don't. Just some background here. Antonio Brown's the police were called to Antonio Brown's house on Tuesday afternoon for a domestic disturbance with a moving truck and himself. Ultimately, no arrests were made. No charges were filed. But now, all of a sudden, he has a warrant out for the same exact issue that the police did found him not to be at fault or anybody like at fault. So he does have a felony burglary and battery warrant out for him. Just some key notes here. The police were called on Tuesday to his residence for the same issue. No arrests were made, but now there's a warrant. Why do you think all of a sudden there's a warrant out? Is it because it made the news, or like what are your thoughts on this, Matthew? Like, why do you think there's a warrant out now?
I mean, I would assume there's a warrant out because he committed a crime. I don't know. I didn't look into it. I mean, because look, let me go sideways on this story. I want these athletes to be happy and healthy and all that. I don't want that taken wrong, but I care about them in the sense of, I want my fellow humans to be happy and healthy and all that jazz. But I only like sports to be entertaining on my TV. I don't care what they do off the field. And, I enjoyed watching AB when he was with the Steelers. I was going to watch him when he was with the Raiders. I was really excited when he was with the Patriots. And then once he got cut, I was like, I'm done with this saga. And he did silly stuff and I didn't care. And then he tried out for the Saints and that piqued my interest. And now he's gone and I don't know what he did. And I don't care as long as he didn't hurt me or mine. I wish the best for him. But I don't know what he did, and I mean, he can do what he wants, right? Like, and there's going to be consequences, but like I said, I can't really speak much on his warrant arrest because I watch sports. Like, let me tell you, Mike, I don't care what you're kneeling for. I don't care what you're fighting. I don't care if you got what you've been in jail for. I don't care what you did in your personal life. I'm not Jesus or Judy. I'm not here to judge. Just I want to enjoy good football. So I enjoyed the crap out of him when he was playing, but now that he's gone, I have no interest in that.
Well, I am here to judge, and this is what we do on this show. Free. So basically, like, more information is coming in from TMZ. Imagine that. The player haters that they are, TMZ has been ruining my team since 2006. Man, I hate TMZ with the Kareem Hunt and everything else. Sidetrack there. So Antonio Brown was having some equipment moved to his house in Hollywood, Florida, and he basically refused to pay the $4,000 fine and ultimately threw a rock at the driver's truck. So, I mean, that's all the kind of the information that is coming in off the top of that. And basically, he refused to pay $4,000 fee to, I guess, fix a truck, which I don't know. Regardless of the point. I'm not worried about throwing out the rock. I'm not worried about fighting the guy or attempted murder or like anything just like that. The one thing that comes to my head is the whole Aaron Hernandez thing, because I just watched that documentary like a lot of people just have in this last week. And CTE is a real thing, and we watched this saga all season of Antonio Brown basically falling apart at the seams, like the whole helmet thing, and then the frostbite on the feet, and now this. Do you think maybe this is a cry for help? Like maybe somebody like, hey man, let's go get your head checked out or some type of medication or something. I think this is a cry out for help, and we need to treat it such as that.
It can be, but how do you treat this such that as far as I know, and I'm no doctor, you can't verify CTE until they pass and you study their brain. So he's not going to let you do that. I don't think if he wanted to get help, he would have been getting help. He clearly, and then I think if we're going to be real serious here for a minute, you get to a point where when you're a celebrity, when you're successful, when you're wealthy, when you're all these things, the people you keep around you are yes men. And you keep them around you because it keeps you safe, it keeps you secure to a point, and it kind of feeds into the confidence that you've built being rich, successful, celebrity, whatever it might be. So I don't know how many people he associates with that's going to have that real-to-real conversation. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a doctor. He definitely is acting out, but I mean, he also, like I said, I could care less what anyone does on their free time. Hope nobody got hurt during him throwing a rock or whatever.
Yeah.
But, is this CTE or is this just a guy who got bored? Right? I mean, because sometimes I see people in life, they're just so good at something. They're so good at something that the level of work they have to put into it kind of gets old. You see that kid in school back in like middle school, he's acting out. He has nothing wrong with him. He's just so smart that the class bores him. Maybe Antonio Brown was so good at football that he got bored. He started acting out. NFL is not a sport that's going to allow you to act out and have your way. Right. They start cutting him because, I mean, as far as attention goes, and I don't know how social media pays, but I imagine he's cutting some kind of check. Isn't he making rap albums now? Isn't he doing like Instagram videos?
He's a professional rapper now, yes.
So yeah, I mean, as long as he obviously did something illegal because he's got a warrant out, but I think there's also a fine line between, something very serious and what we saw in the Aaron Hernandez documentary and dude just acting out because he's the cool kid and he's bored in class.
Are you saying he's trying to amp up his rap game to get some street cred?
No,
being in the joint.
Not at all. I just say, because here's the thing, like, there's also this mindset that older people, you look at somebody old and they retire at the age of 65 or 70,
right.
They kind of just wither away or they piddle around the house. What do you do when you're 30 and you're a millionaire?
You throw rocks at trucks and make rap albums.
I guess. You know what I'm saying? Like, look, I'll be completely honest with you. I try not to be hard on anybody because I'm 30 years old right now, and I still make mistakes. I make a lot less mistakes than I did in the last decade. And a lot of the growing up I did is because I had to. You start, right. you have to hold down a job. You have to pay bills. I see so many people yell at these 18, 19-year-old kids for making a mistake. I only imagine if at 18 I had LeBron James's athletic ability or I was as popular as Zion Williams. Because I was an asshole at 18, dude.
Right.
Imagine me being successful and the world wanting to know what I thought. Social media in my face. Okay, so, and then I never have to mature because you're instantly going to start throwing millions of dollars for me and I'm going to have millions of fans make excuses for everything I do? Look, I can't judge nobody. I might be in there with Aaron Hernandez. It wouldn't be through like this violent psycho thing, but
you never know.
Right.
Like, it could be psycho. You never know.
It might have been just one of those things where you're just like so immature, you're not paying attention. So I don't want to judge any 30-year-old or any millionaire how they're spending their money or what they're doing because I could only imagine the place I would be in if at 18 everyone handed me the world on the platter and that just kept growing. So if we're being completely serious, like I said, I don't really care what he does. He's not entertaining me on the football field, so I hope he lives his life. But if we're being completely serious, I can't be mad at the guy because I've probably thrown a rock at some dude's car right now, and I'm broke as can be. So who knows?
Right. So, like, if we're going to go down that train a little bit here, like, can we fault the KU player or the K-State players for fighting either? Because, they are 19, 20 years, like years old. If we want to backtrack on the show a little bit.
I said,
because, like, earlier, we would have done the same thing, to be honest.
Yeah. Earlier, I said I had no problem with it. The only thing I ever say is whatever the consequences are. And then in this case, clearly the consequences weren't that important. And to be honest with you, I don't know how bad the consequences will be in an AB situation unless he keeps making it worse. But hopefully, I don't know.
Yeah. As far as his concern goes, as far as a warrant, you could get arrested, you bond out of jail. I'm sure he has money to bond out of jail.
Right.
The guy that was with him has already bonded out of jail for like $20,000. So 10% of that's like $2,000 or whatever it is, or $200, whatever it is. So I'm sure he has the money. I'm not worried about that. But after I've seen the unraveling of him like all year with the helmet and the foot thing and like now this, and then after watching the Aaron Hernandez thing, like my mind instantly went there for some reason. I hope I'm totally wrong. You
should probably put something down at the scroll there. I am not a doctor. I want to go on record for saying this, but I wonder how many times, CTE seems to be very serious. I know Junior Seau had some struggles, and they say Aaron Hernandez was in really bad shape, especially, at the end of his life, which the man was very young. But I also wonder how much of this comes from, and this would be more my concern with Antonio Brown than CTE, is you have grown to a custom of life, a way of life.
You're right. What
will you go through to protect that?
Meaning this custom of life that people bow down to you. You get ladies.
And I'm not even, let's if we're really down this rabbit hole, let's get real serious, Mike. I'm talking like not even pro athletes. I'm talking actors, billionaires, business owners. When you have come accustomed to this way of life, or you have come accustomed to a type of success, and now somebody's, I'm not saying that in this situation anybody's trying to take it away from Antonio Brown, but you just see, because like in the Aaron Hernandez situation, it never got real clear, but he clearly, if you believe he was guilty of the first murder, the two murders in Boston, you would say, okay, something got in the way. Something happened there.
Right.
But then if you look at everything after it, when he shot the one guy and whatever happened, a lot of that seemed signs of fear that you had a way of taking away my good life. And that would be my only concern of Antonio Brown, because obviously not a doctor, put it on the scroll. I don't know about any level of CTE, but my concern would be now, you saw it with these accusations that costed him his job in Oakland. You saw the accusations that cost him his job in New England. What happens if people keep pushing things like this, or he keeps putting himself in situations where somebody has a little leverage, or where somebody can take something somewhat bad, lie, make it really bad, and now his lifestyle is in jeopardy? That's what I worry about these guys. I mean, if we're going to be completely real and completely honest, it's, you see people – because I wonder all the time, you look at these billionaires in the world, how many people have they murdered? Maybe not by their hands, but had something done, because you start threatening their way of life. So
I mean, and just I hope for his sake, for his family, for his friends, etc., that he has a strong woman in his life to push him in the right direction.
I've seen his rap video. I've seen one of the videos he made. He has about 30 strong women in his life. So yeah.
Now, let's be totally serious here. Like he needs a good he needs a good kick in the ass from his mama, from his aunt, wife, girlfriend, whatever. Somebody needs to kick him straight in the ass.
I mean, maybe it comes in the form of this. Like I said, from the things I've seen, I'm here for you doing whatever, as long as you ain't killing anybody and you're willing to do the consequences. Wow. So he was willing to act a fool, and he lost his NFL job. And if he's fine with that and he can supplement income elsewhere, good luck to him. And it might take him spending some time in jail doing something reckless to realize, maybe just going to tone it down just a little bit. Because, hey, it's a social media age, and he's a celebrity. They'll pay him for doing just stupid stuff. It don't have to be illegal.
Right. Yeah. So, guys, that is going to be it for today's show. Thank you, Matthew Lyle, for being on the show today. If you guys have not went and found Matthew Lyle's podcast yet, it's the Matthew Lyle Show.
Thanks for tuning in to Just for Clicks, featuring your
Follow him on
host,
Facebook as well. He likes people on Facebook. But guys, thank you for joining us. Be here tomorrow on the Facebook Live, on Spreaker as well, on the sportstalkchannel.com. 10 p.m. East Coast time to 11. Join us. Have a great day. We'll see you later.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to Just for Clicks, featuring your host, Michael Buckeister. Tune in next time once again for Just for Clicks.